Welcome to Concept Craft. We are presenting step-by-step videos training to crack your certification exam, so you can gain the confidence to take on any accounting challenge. Now let's begin our today's lesson. Creating bank rules. Learning outcomes. In this lesson, we'll cover creating bank rules in QuickBooks Online. Topics: about bank rules in QuickBooks Online, launching the Create Rule tool, defining the rule conditions, defining what actions QuickBooks Online should take, using the Auto Add feature, the rules list, take our Pro Advisor challenge, save time with automation. Many clients find that around 80% of their transactions are repeated month after month. Checking, adding, and categorizing these regular transactions manually would be a real chore. Clients can also run into problems when they're recording transfers between accounts and bank feeds. How can you and QuickBooks Online help? QuickBooks Online allows clients to set bank rules to speed up the matching process. Rules can identify repetitive bank feeds and automatically suggest a match. Clients can set up rules to tell QuickBooks Online what to do with downloaded bank activity that meets a particular set of conditions. Rules give clients control and can take some of the pain out of working with regular and predictable bank feed activity. About bank rules in QuickBooks Online. Bank rules automate the categorization of transactions in the bank feed, including assigning the transaction type, category, payee, and, if the client uses these categorization methods, class, tag, and location. Rules can be prioritized, copied, edited, deleted, and exported. Clients can even create bank rules to add transactions to the register automatically. They can also be used to automatically split transactions, which means assigning different categories to multiple lines of a transaction. These topics are explained in the lesson on using bank rules. Select the headings to discover more about bank rules. How do bank rules work? When should a rule be used? How do bank rules work? Rules have two elements: conditions and actions. Conditions define which transactions to look for in the bank feeds, and can include criteria such as a specific bank account, keyword in the description, or transaction amount. Actions tell QuickBooks Online what to do with transactions that meet the rule conditions. Examples of these instructions include automatically posting a transaction to the correct accounts and/or assigning pre-specified data such as payee, category, class, location, and/or tags. When should a rule be used? Clients will likely know which of their regular transactions they categorize the same way each time. It could be regular money in or money out payments to from the same vendor/customer, or purchases from a vendor that the client always categorizes to the same account in QuickBooks Online. If the client isn't sure, a good tip is to check the categorization history of a transaction. This shows how previous transactions for this vendor/customer were categorized in QuickBooks Online. If transactions have previously been categorized in a consistent way, the client may want to create a rule so that QuickBooks Online will now do this automatically. To check a transaction's categorization history, go to the For Review tab in the Banking Center and select the transaction in question. Then select Categorization History at the bottom of the panel. In the example here, you can see that transactions from this vendor have previously been categorized as office expenses. The client could choose to set up a rule to categorize future transactions from this vendor in the same way. Rules share some similarities with recurring transactions in QuickBooks Online. We cover which feature is the best one to use in certain situations in the lesson on using bank rules. Launching the Create Rule tool. As you just saw, clients can create a bank rule from the Categorization History panel in the Banking Center. However, it's good practice to create it as follows. Select Banking from the left-hand navigation, then select the Rules tab. Next, select New Rule on the right. This opens the Create Rule drawer. Now let's look at how to create a new rule. First, enter a unique name for the rule. The next step is to define the rule conditions so you can specify the transactions that the rule should apply to. We'll look at how to do this next. Defining the rule conditions. Defining the rule conditions involves specifying the criteria that transactions need to meet for the rule to apply. Select each step to find out how to set the rule conditions. Step 1. Specify which accounts the transactions will be in. From the first drop-down, choose whether the rule will apply to money in or money out transactions, then select which bank or credit card accounts the transactions will appear in. Step 2. Specify the conditions that the rule will use to identify transactions. In the next section, specify the conditions that transactions must meet for the rule to apply. You can choose whether the rules should match transactions based on a specified description, bank text, amount. What is the difference between bank text and description? Bank text, also known as bank detail, is the transaction detail that QuickBooks Online receives from the bank. Depending on the bank, this may include information such as the store number, city, state, phone number, and date. It might also include hard-to-interpret abbreviations of vendor/customer names. To see these details, expand your bank transaction in the bank feed. Description is QuickBooks Online's shortened and cleaned-up interpretation of the bank text. Note, it's often more useful to create a rule with conditions referencing the bank text than the description. What happens if you tell the rule to match transactions by description or bank text? By selecting description or bank text, you get the following options. Contains. Doesn't contain. Is exactly. Selecting contains as part of a rule permits many kinds of transactions to be assigned to one set of actions. For example, transactions made at different outlets of a national gas station or department store chain can be listed with many different descriptions, such as the store number or city name. However, the transactions will usually all contain the name of the national chain itself. In this case, a client can select contains and enter just the name of the chain, not the store number or city name. QuickBooks Online will then pick up each relevant transaction. The client would need to make sure that the name they choose is unique to that particular chain, and not one that's also contained in other vendor names. Selecting doesn't contain allows clients to filter out specific transactions, so QuickBooks Online excludes them when it applies the rule. In the gas station example above, this could be used to tell QuickBooks Online to ignore transactions from one or more specific gas stations. Clients would use the Is Exactly option to create a condition for an exact match. Using the same gas station example, this option would let the client set up the rule to look only for transactions made at a specific location. Once clients have made a choice from this dropdown, they'd enter the relevant text or reference number in the right-hand field. In the example here, the rule is being set up to look only for transactions with the word transportation in the bank text. What happens if you tell the rule to match transactions by amount? If clients select amount instead of description or bank text, they can set up the rule to look for transactions of a specific amount. With this option, they can choose whether the rule should apply in the ways shown here. Choose the applicable option and then enter the relevant value in the right-hand field. Can you add more than one condition to a rule? Yes, clients can create up to 5 different conditions in a single rule. To add more conditions to the rule, select plus add a condition. This allows clients to set up a second condition using the same options as before. Clients can specify whether the bank activity has to meet any or all of the specified conditions before QuickBooks Online will apply the rule. How do you know that the rule is identifying the correct transactions? Once clients have specified which transactions QuickBooks Online should look for, they can select Test Rule to ensure that the rule is working. If the rule is working as intended, they'll get a message like the one here. Once clients have defined the rule conditions, they can then define what actions the rule should take with transactions that meet these conditions. We'll cover this next. Defining what actions QuickBooks Online should take. Once clients have specified which transactions QuickBooks Online should look for, they can define what actions it should take with transactions that meet the specified conditions. They can also specify whether the rules should assign or exclude transactions from these actions. Select each heading to see the differences between assign and exclude. What happens if you choose assign? What happens if you choose exclude? What happens if you choose assign? By choosing assign, clients can instruct the rule to assign matching transactions as follows. Transaction type. The options here depend on whether the rule applies to money out or money in. If the rule applies to money out transactions, the options are expense, transfer, check, credit card payment. For money in transactions, the options are deposit, credit card payment, transfer. We cover how to use rules for transfers in the Using Bank Rules lesson. Category. Here, clients select the account on the chart of accounts to categorize this transaction to. If there's more than one account, select Add a split to split by percentage or amount. P. Optional but recommended. Again, the options here depend on whether the rule applies to money out or money in transactions. For money out transactions, use the Payee drop-down to select a vendor. Clients can also select a customer here, to record a project-related expense, for example. If the rule applies to money in transactions, use the Payee drop-down to specify a customer. In the example above, you can see that tags is also an option. Clients can also categorize matching transactions by any of the following advanced categorization methods, if they're using them. Tags, classes, locations. In addition, clients can create a method that will be added to matching transactions. To do this, select plus assign more. Using the auto-add feature. You can also create bank rules that both categorize transactions and automatically accept them into the client's books, in the banking center. Do this by moving the auto-add slider to on, as shown here. However, this auto-add feature should be used with caution, and only by users who are experienced in working with bank rules. So if your clients decide to use auto-add in their rules, they should consider adding a condition regarding the expected dollar amount. That way, if the transaction expense exceeds the typical dollar amount, the rule won't be applied, and the transaction will show up in the For Review tab. Note that if the auto-add feature is used, there's no need to review the transactions because it's applied automatically. If auto-add isn't used, QuickBooks Online won't apply the rule, but flags transactions up in the For Review tab. We'll cover how to review these transactions in the Using Bank Rules lesson. The Rules list. When you or your clients have finished setting up a new bank rule, select Save. The rule is added to the Rules list in the Banking Center, as shown below. From the Actions column, you or your clients can edit, copy, disable/enable, or delete existing rules on this list. Is the order in which rules appear in the rules list important? Yes, it is. When QuickBooks Online checks transactions from the bank feed, it applies rules in numerical order as listed. We'll explore this in more detail in the Using Bank Rules lesson. Summing up. Learning outcomes. Well done. In this lesson, we covered creating bank rules in QuickBooks Online. Knowledge recap. Rules make life easier for you and your clients, but they need to be well structured to do the job you want. So clients will need your support getting started with creating rules in QuickBooks Online. Next steps. In the next lesson, we'll look at how to use bank rules.